I was a complete disaster as an apprentice and made so many mistakes in my first months that I'm amazed they kept me. In fairness to myself, most of the blunders involved the dreadful noise from the projectors and the confusion that caused me. The list of my screw-ups includes bringing up the house lights by accident in the middle of a film because I thought Leo had told me to do so, loading the right number reel into the projector but from the other film, closing the curtain before the film had ended because I thought Leo had told me to do so. The real changeover from one projector to the other was, for me, heart-stopping every time. Typically, I would be at the projector with the reel coming to an end. Then the first small white circular mark would come up in the top right corner of the screen, and that would be the cue to start the other projector. When the second white circle showed up some seconds later, there was a mechanical bar the projectionist flicked that automatically shut the beam of arc light from the outgoing reel and opened the arc light of the projector with the new reel. My job then would be simply to stop my projector and turn off its arc light, take the finished reel away to rewind, and then load the coming reel. But once, in a stunning state of confusion, I flicked the mechanical bar instead of my projectionist off switch, meaning the cinema was flooded with arc light on the screen from my projector with no film running through it. It took a few seconds for Leo to notice, and he shouted at me for what I had done while also flicking the bar back to his running projector. But I had meanwhile misheard him and seen my mistake and flicked the mechanical bar back to arc light on the screen. Okay, then back to Leo's projector, and the film continued for the blinded audience. But I seemed to make up for my failings by being generally diligent and being reasonable company. I don't think I ever missed a day. One of my jobs was to rewind the reels after they had been screened. Doing this required rewinding with my right hand while having the film run through the index finger and thumb of my left hand. This was to check for any damage to the film sprockets. As a result, I soon had dark oil marks ingrained in my hand. Indeed, the oil on my hand and general projection room environment played havoc with my teenage acne. As I said, these prints had been around a lot before they reached us or were being screened again by us, so there would be splices and damage. It was no light decision to put a new splice in a film, certainly not one for the likes of me, and when the operation was decided upon, I was shown by Harry or Leo the precise steps using blade and glue and splicer, setting the two sides of film down with an overlap of one sprocket to form the splice. It was a great honour when I was finally allowed to start doing splices, but I never reached the rank of deciding when to make one. One of Leo's duties as chief projectionist was to maintain his record of the condition of the film prints that were constantly in traffic to and from the distribution centre in, if I recall rightly, Abbey Street. This was back in the day when the business regulated itself in such a way that new films were only screened in the city centre cinemas and were not allowed out to the wilds of the suburbs until perhaps months later. Equally, Albert might very well choose a film, a second feature on Monday to Wednesday for instance, that could be a decade or even decades old. These prints had done a lot of mileage through projection gates. Leo would inspect the reels of the film before it was deemed ready for projection, and one job we all had was to check for old splices to ensure they were still holding firm. Unless something was really wrong, Leo's report would state OSP, oily, scratched and pulled. In film, the sound going through the optical reader is some 20 frames ahead of the picture frame being shown. This led to one wonderful event that may or may not have been the in-joke of a projectionist where the film had been previously screened. It was some western, and there was the classic tradition of the showdown in the middle of the street. The two cowboys drew their guns. There was no sound of a gunshot, but one cowboy dropped dead. A deliberate or accidental splice had removed the sound of the gunshot, or the cowboy had a pre-existing medical condition.